Welcome back to the Daily Lift. In Romans chapter 12, verse 2, Paul tells us, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. The Bible has so much to say about not following the crowd and going with the flow. And it was radical in its teachings, and it challenged many perspectives and worldviews in its day. And it teaches us to be bold in the faith and to not go with the flow. So why do so many do that? Why do so many follow the multitude to do evil? Why does the Bible convey that most will refuse the truth? Well, I think here in this passage, Paul offers some wonderful insight. And I've heard a quote that goes, the opposite of courage isn't cowardice, but it's conformity. And I think Jesus warns us many, many times about this. And he says in Matthew chapter 7, he says that many will be going in a certain direction. And he says, don't follow the multitude just for the sake of following the crowd. It leads down the wrong way. And in Matthew chapter 7, starting in verse 13, he says, enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction. And there are many who go in by it. Because narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. Here, Jesus is teaching us that there's only two ways. There's the easy, go with the flow way, and then there is the difficult way. There is the way that is the path of least resistance that leads to conformity with the world, or there's a path that leads to transformation through the Word of God. And he says these are the only two ways. And Paul echoes the sentiment here in Romans chapter 12. He says, don't be conformed to this world. The world will pressure us to be just like it. And it is like that nameless, faceless beast. It wants everyone to be the same. And as C.S. Lewis writes in the Screw Tape Letters for the road to hell, the safest road to hell is the gradual one. The gentle slope, soft underfoot, and without sudden turnings, without milestones, and without signposts. And here, this is the warning for us that most people will be like that frog that sits in the lukewarm water and that's slowly boiled to death, not realizing that it's being killed. He says, be transformed. Don't be conformed like that. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We are to be transformers. We are to renew our minds, and this means a complete change for the better, a restoration. So how do we restore our minds? By reading the Word of God. We get into the Word, and this proves our faith, and it allows us to glorify God. Jesus says, let your light so shine before men that they, seeing your good works, glorify your Father in heaven. And so when we do this, we prove that which is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So Paul here describes God's will with three words: good, acceptable, and perfect. Good refers to the idea of useful. Remember when Jesus was talking to the rich young ruler, he calls him good master. And Jesus says, why do you call me good? There's only one that is good, and that is God. And what is acceptable? This is agreeable, well-pleasing, and perfect, complete. The Word of God gives us everything to be equipped for this life and for godliness. And so everything in this life, in this world around us, it has hooks. The glitter and the gold that pressures us to conform to this life and follow is all around us, tempting us. So don't fall for it. Don't get distracted. Keep your eyes on the prize and allow the Word of God to transform you. Stay in the Word and imitate Jesus so we can hear at the end, well done, rather than depart from me. So I want to encourage you today to sharpen your mind with the Word of God as iron sharpens iron, because there's nothing more important and there's nothing more powerful. And as always, go lift some